Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sip Fearlessly. We are here with another show, another special guest as usual. My name is Gigi, if you didn't know.
I'm Sue Fearless.
We gotta put that whoop whoop. Well, we have a very special guest today. Her name is Raina Simone. Did I say it right?
You did.
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
How
Yes.
you guys doing?
And let me tell you guys, this young lady has an impeccable history journey. Listen, I was reading your bio, girl, and I was like, Howard University graduate, music producer,
Yes, indeed.
leadership all across.
Yes.
But I want to start talking about that viral moment you had in 2021
For
that
sure.
jumped you into the music and has you, has everybody bumping to your music. So let's
Well,
talk
thank
about
you.
that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about it. So I did a freestyle to "If I Rule the World" by Nas and Lauryn Hill, of course.
Yes.
I titled it "Sometimes I Rap." It was at Howard University, actually. We had this group called Sesh Collective, which was basically all the music kids got together every once out of the week, and we would meet at some hidden location and just jam out to music. But that night we were doing ciphers, and I had one of my friends just throw on a random instrumental. I was like, yo, you got to put on "If I Rule the World." I was in a Nas mood, and I rapped to that, and it ended up doing some very good numbers. And in
Nice.
2021, on TikTok, we did like 3 million views in 24 hours, so that was great. And yeah, that amped me up. So I'd always really focused on my music production before then. But once I realized there was an audience for the rap too, I was like, okay,
That's
now
what
it's time to do that too.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, so that freestyle was filmed by your classmates at Howard University. How was your experience at Howard, and including the friends, connections you made, and things like that that helped shape your career?
Absolutely, I think it's so important. I'm a firm believer of every person of color going to an HBCU prior to, you always have a chance if you want to go back and go to an Ivy or any other school after the fact, you can. But I think that's really, really important. That's the only time in which you'll be learning through a lens other than that of a Eurocentric lens. And when you'll be learning through the lens of self and being able to relate to the lesson from the inside out rather than outside in. Even in topics like, or subjects like mathematics, you're learning about the essence of mathematics. Where's that coming from? Certain parts of Egypt and, the actual
Right.
knowledge and culture behind the theory. So in every lesson, there are Afrocentric teachings. And I think that's super, super important for
Yeah.
anybody just to understand self. So I loved Howard strictly off of that.
Yeah. So I love you. I'm
Likewise,
already
thank
sitting here
you.
like, oh, this would be such a great deep conversation. Oh, I could see it. I could see us diving in. I love music. I mean, I think I could speak for both of us. I grew up with music. Music, I feel like has helped me through every single emotion in my life. So that's why I appreciate artists and I appreciate the artistry of music so much, because it could definitely help you heal.
Absolutely.
So I like that. So, to hear the journey of, an artist and how they came about, and your, like Gigi said, your impeccable background,
Yes.
just your educational journey and everything, I think is amazing. And I'm sure that it translates so well in your music because you're able to like be intellectual, but then soulful and then energy, So I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I
love
try
it,
to. I
yes.
think when I'm making any song, one of my main objectives is always, I like to speak in double and triple entendres because I always want everyone to understand, one line differently. I want my college folks to understand it the same way as my folks on the block, and people are gonna hear it differently, and you're gonna receive a different message from it, but you're still gonna feel me at the end. So
Right.
that's really important to me in my music too.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you started off playing piano and writing lyrics at the age of 3.
Right.
did.
That's amazing.
Wow. Yes. Like, what were some of your earliest musical influences, and how did they shape your style?
Absolutely, I love that question. You know what? My paternal grandparents had this big grand piano in their living room that when I was little, I just used to disappear when they were trying to figure out where I was, and I would always be at that piano. Starting at like 1 year old, so my parents were like, all right, maybe she likes the piano.
Yeah.
And they introduced me to the piano very, very young after I showed an interest in it. Forgive me, what was the second part of the question?
Oh no, just what were your earliest musical influences?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
My parents are not musicians themselves per se, but they're lovers of music and they take music very seriously. So I would definitely say it starts there, just hearing different things, around the house. The project I just dropped is called Old Soul New Conscience, and that old soul part of it I feel is very prevalent. But yeah, a lot of classics around the house.
Yeah.
Just picking things up based on family. But growing up, and when I was really, really little, like around my piano 3-year-old age, Alicia Keys and Mariah Carey were like at their heights at that point when I was really, really little. So those, of course, were major, major influences to me. And then, as I got older, the Drakes and the J. Coles and the Kendricks.
Yeah.
But it definitely started rooted in that R&B, that early R&B.
Yeah, she gives me Alicia Keys vibes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah? Oh, don't tell me that.
Yes,
We
girl.
love some
I
Alicia
love
Keys.
Thank you. I love Alicia
All
Keys,
day,
too.
every day. Yes. So when did you realize that music would be more than just a hobby?
You know what? I've always felt like I was almost like imprisoned by music. I've tried to stop so many times, and it's never been a successful quit, thankfully, I say. But I think when you're truly a musician at heart and you're really an artist, you're always going to hear things in your head to the point where it almost bothers you to not get it out.
Right.
So for me, I don't really think, musicianship is a choice. It's like if I am hearing things in my head and I can't somehow, transcribe that to a way in which it can be felt in the real world, it's just going to sit there and bother me, and I'll really lose my mind. So
Yeah.
So
And
it's
would you say,
reoccurring.
yeah, definitely.
that's what
Would
it
you
feels
say
like.
also like your surroundings, like in Harlem and Inglewood, would you say that also influenced like your
Oh,
perspective
of
on
course.
music? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm from Harlem, New York, and Inglewood, New Jersey, both of which are major hip hop places, New York and New Jersey. When people name the hip hop legends, they either come from New York or New Jersey.
Right.
But yeah, both of those places have been very influential to me, especially in terms of how I regurgitate my culture, being surrounded by those things. I'm a huge fan of the Harlem Renaissance and having studied that and been able to feel connected to that on another level, and put that into my music and poetry in different ways. So all of that all comes together 100%.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I know you majored in political science and philosophy at Howard
indeed.
on a law and government track. That's
Correct.
the track you were on. And so I do want to ask you, like, your connection to Kappa Alpha sorority and the community at Howard. How does it continue to play a role in your music and activism?
Yeah, I think everything I do, I try to do with, service to all mankind in mind. And really what that just means is, ensuring that everything I'm doing in some way is going to help someone else. I really see music as a tool of, message and communication and teaching things, especially when we're in a world now where these things are under attack and, they're trying to erase critical race theory and send you to jail for giving children certain books and all sorts of things, But I just think it's really important to deliver certain information. And, sometimes I gotta spread the information in between some other things just to attract the audience. But there's
course.
always an underlying message that I'm really trying to make sure in some way is providing a service to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that message. Everything that we all do, no matter what background it is, whether it's music, whatever industry that you're in, I think that is the most important thing that people should keep in mind is what you're doing at service to others. I think that's one of the most important things. We cannot lose that, especially during these times, like you mentioned, we're here being silenced, and arrested for activism, and all of these things just because we're speaking our mind and making sure that we stand up for ourselves.
Right.
So I think that's major, super, super important that you do that. So thank you for that.
No, I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah. So let's talk about your EP. Your debut EP.
This is the official album now. We did the EP 2022. This the official debut album. I had to come strong. It's an extra long album too. That's why we couldn't let EP slide. It's 24 songs, so it's a little lot of long.
Okay, okay. And it's called To My Hearts.
Oh, you know
correct?
what? No, this is 2022.
This is
my
2022.
EP, 2022
okay.
that I dropped called To My Hearts. But yeah, we could talk about that project too.
Yeah, let's talk about
For
both.
sure.
So let's start with To My Hearts. So with that project, you took a socio-political stance on drill music, which is big, right, in NYC. What inspired you to address drill music in this way, and what impact did you hope to make with your project?
Oh, I love that question.
Yeah.
I heard personnel associated with record labels offer children $1 million deals to continue to speak about killing and not offer them $1 million deals to never speak about it again. And that in itself upset me enough to want to speak about it in some way. But I tried to do it in a very malleable way in which I felt that people could still dance to it. You know, it still has a drill sound. It's sonically drill music, but the lyrical content is a little bit different. And also at the time when I did that in 2022, you know, now we've seen drill take on different forms. You know, we got the sexy drill, we got gospel
Right.
drill,
Sexy
angelic
drill
drill,
is
all
crazy, though.
kinds of drill, you know. But 2021, 2022, it was heavily aggressive, you know, drill. It hadn't formed its other subgenres yet. And I was around a lot of that due to who my management was at the time. And yeah, I felt like I was in a position where I needed to be able to transition that drill sound to a different topic, so that we could start taking claim to our own narratives. And it's not outsiders coming in and now doing drill music. And of course, their narratives are not ours, so that's
Right.
easy for them to do anyway. But then they would commercialize the genre, you know, by bringing their narratives into it. Of course, when you're talking about killing folks, it's only going to go so far on a commercial level because certain people are just not going to play it in certain
Right.
settings. But yeah, you come in and bring different experiences. Now it's commercial, and now that's who's benefiting from the genre that little brown and black kids are getting killed off of. So I kind of wanted to get ahead of that narrative and be able to speak on other things over drill music, but reclaiming our own narratives.
Right,
I love that you
right.
did that.
Yeah.
And humanizing us too. You know, it's very easy to
Definitely.
look at someone as non-human when the music is all demified.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
it's-
exactly what it is. Demified.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they over-sensationalized that genre of hip hop and rap.
and I know these
Not-
kids in real life. Like,
Not, right, not, exactly. Not thinking about what's going on in our communities because of this type of music. So I
Exactly.
love that you shed light on that. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about tell us about your new album.
oh yeah, so the new one, that I'm excited to talk about. The new one is called Old Soul New Conscious. It officially
yes.
dropped as of October 25th. And I feel like that's really my first entry of my catalog to my audience and to the rest of the world. So I stand behind that one wholeheartedly. And that's really kind of like my autobiography too.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. So what makes it like your first entry?
Well, for one, it is my first album project. And for two, well, I guess that's really what makes it my first entry. It's my first
Yeah.
official album project.
Okay.
It's the first time I'm really presenting myself in a way where all the other music has you know, produced this moment here. And so people who have been tapped in since very, very early on know that I've been promoting this album for a long time, since before there was even music associated with the name, and, you know, have seen other songs drop in the meantime, but it just all comes together to this culmination point now. So dropped this album project. It's 24 songs. I really wanted to take people back to the hardcore mixtape era, where, you know, you had to rap for sport. It was gritty. And so, yeah, that was the goal. But also making it such that it's not just, you know, boring straight through you listening for 24 songs and grabbing your ears by the end, but there's
Right.
enough variation in movement and genre and subject matter and topics that you can just flow through it. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. So a lot of your music is described as like poetic narratives of Black America. It's layered over rhythms from the African diaspora. Could you share more about your heritage and culture? I know you shared a little bit about like your upbringing, but share a little bit more about your heritage and culture and how it influences your sound.
For sure. I'm very, very in touch with my ancestors and like ancestral power, and I feel like that's what I operate in the world off of. I just identify as Black American, but in that to me is a lot. I feel like the Black American is a hybrid by nature. Whether you want to
Yes.
go by the principles of slave breeding or just assimilation over time or anything else. But I identify as Black American, and everything that comes in what is the innate Black American and that intentional hybrid that was created. And yeah, I pull a lot from that narratives. I grew up around my elders, and that has meant a lot to me. I shared those narratives, so yeah, I'm very big on lineage and ancestry, and all of that culture and that, you know, ethnic power is what pushes me forward.
I love that. I mean, we're a representation of our cultures,
Yes.
you know, so
Absolutely.
we definitely should make sure that we always respect it, you know, put it in a high regard, you know, represent it, talk about it. So yeah, that's super dope.
Yeah, and you have to do it so that no one else is doing it incorrectly.
Exactly. Nobody is making the narrative
Right.
for us. Yes, absolutely. So you've also earned a lot of respect from influential artists like Erykah Badu, Chuck D, Chris Brown. You collaborated with Talib Kweli
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Ransom on Minority Report. So what is
faves.
it like being recognized by all these greats and working on a track like that with Talib Kweli?
Yeah, it's a very powerful feeling. Of course, my friend Trevor and I used to listen to Ransom all the time, just like
Yeah.
after high school, hanging out, just like driving somewhere. And so when Ransom said he wanted me on a record, initially it really took me back, and I kind of didn't like believe it at first. And then the record actually didn't come out for about maybe a year and a half. So I was like, yeah, he's definitely not putting that out. Like it was cool though. At least I got to do it. I was happy just with the fact that I, for my own listening, had a record with me and someone I loved on it. And then randomly he dropped it on one of his album projects. But that was a great feeling, and an even better feeling to hear that people thought that I was able to keep up with, you know, who I consider my goats. So, you know,
Yeah.
Talib Kweli and Ransom. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I kept up with them. So that I'm happy off that for a very long time.
Yeah. I cannot wait. You have a new fan.
Oh, thank
I
you.
cannot
Thank
wait.
you.
I
You gotta
cannot
listen to the
wait.
album after
Yes,
this.
I cannot wait to
For
listen
sure.
to everything. You've also performed on like major platforms such as Sway's Universe, On the Radar, 300 Entertainment. How's the experience performing on those live platforms?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I do it for sport. I'm really like a hip hop head. Like I
Okay.
love to. I've always rapped just for fun and just for sport,
Okay.
and because
So
I
do
love
you
to
do it off the dome?
Yeah, I love to.
Oh, I love that.
to.
Yes.
And yeah, I've always rapped. I was only saying I was a music producer because I didn't like the connotation that came with calling myself a rapper, which I have since decolonized in my own mind. But yeah, I love it. I love it.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, how do you see your music contributing to important conversations within hip hop and society at large, especially during these times, right? Because I feel like during this political election, so many artists in the hip hop industry were used,
Absolutely.
you know, to try to sway our votes and things like that. So, like, how, you know, what's the importance? How do you see the importance of you using your voice during this time and having those, contributing to those important conversations?
Yeah, you know, I said a lot on this album project, and if Project 2025 is, you know, if they're gonna execute that, I might actually be in some big trouble. So I'm a little, it is what it is now. But
A little trouble's okay. Yes.
But yeah, I think just being representative of the counterculture, and you know, speaking and having a narrative for the counterculture, and you know, people can decide to align or not align if they like, but at least that opinion is there, it's out there.
Yeah.
That subject matter is one that you know you can claim. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you aim to bring power and
course.
self-awareness to female rap music.
yes, ma'am.
I love that, okay? Because I feel like there's not only one type of female rap that should be celebrated. There's so many amazing females that are contributing to the rap culture. What does that mean to you, and why is it such an important focus?
You know, I think it's an important focus because, again, I'm all about reclaiming our own narratives. Right now, I think in hip-hop music in particular, really in other genres as well, but specifically speaking of hip-hop music, there's a lot of it. There's hypermasculinity reigns supreme, and so often you see that a lot of women aren't even writing these lyrics that are so raunchy that a lot of women actually hate so much. It's very hard to objectify yourself in that way, but you know, as a man, it's a little easier to say something you think another man might want to hear.
Yeah.
So I'm just very big on reclaiming narratives and making sure that, you know, whoever's
Yeah.
speaking is speaking from their own perspective.
Right.
Granted, women and women of color have done a lot to be able to even reclaim sexuality. So, you know,
that's
I'm never
true.
against
That's true.
anybody who wants to, you know, embrace their own sexuality, do your thing. But I think balance and I think representation is very important. And so I think that is the case. And if the industry sees that is the case overwhelmingly, then more should be done to try to balance it out so that the narrative is, you know, more true to the individuals themselves. So
Right. Yeah, I think they need to go back and like just check analytics because we are listening to everything. We're not only listening to the over-sexualized female rap music. We are literally like sitting down and listening to lyrics, listening to everything, especially as female listeners. Because like you said, you know, a lot of these female rappers, they you know, a lot of the content that they put out is written by a man, you know. So we are here dissecting lyrics. That's why I can't wait to listen to your album. We're here actually listening, you know, to lyrics and you know, and dissecting them and seeing how we connect with them. So definitely, I encourage, you know, these industries to continue to open, you know, the doors are open, but continue to like pour into artists, female artists that are in different type of rap genres. Definitely, absolutely. How do you approach writing lyrics and crafting narratives that resonate with your listeners on a deep level?
I like that. You know what? I think my process of creating music is very personal and very internal. So it may maybe sound selfish to say, but I don't know that I think about the listener so much, but I have faith that there are listeners who will identify with me and my experiences and what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, I don't know, it's a little easier for me to, when it's coming from a real place, just speak it in rhyme. Yeah, it always starts with an idea.
So are you signed to a label, an independent artist?
I'm signed to myself
Hey.
on purpose right now.
Hey. So let's talk about that a little bit.
For sure.
How is that journey, being an independent artist?
Absolutely. You know, it's definitely a difficult journey. It's not for everybody. But I think it's very important to know what you're worth. And in many ways, I wouldn't have been able to release this project under a label because of the subject matters that I'm speaking about, even in the way in which I'm speaking about, you know, certain labels that maybe have approached me. And I'm very big on creative freedom. You know, granted, of course, if a situation were to present itself in which I felt I was valued the way I should be valued, and in which case I had creative freedom as well, that's a different situation, but that hasn't been the case as of yet. But yeah, I think we're in a technological age where really, if you have a core base and you continue to build it and grow with it and continue to produce content that people can interact with, there's really a way to be very sustainable in you know, music. So
but it is a little difficult being an independent
absolutely,
artist.
100%.
So what is
You're wearing the
like,
hats of like 10 people that would be doing a staff job.
And you know, pouring your own financial, you
Absolutely.
know, investment into it and things like that. So what's like one thing that you can say to independent artists out there, you know, that are repping for themselves and you know, signed under themselves, right? That they can use that can help them, you know, continue to grow and get success.
And overcome challenges.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think music and investing in music as a commodity is just like anything else when you're starting a business, and that's really how it should be looked at, and I think that's the only way it can be done successfully. And, you know, tying that back into the whole college conversation, I speak to a lot of musicians all the time, a lot of younger than I, who are considering whether or not they should go to college because they want to strictly pursue music. And, you know, I think I learned a lot of very valuable skills during my time in school that's made things a lot easier for me now in terms of certain operations when it comes to, you know, being able to operate and run a music business. I have a production company as well and some other artists that I work with too. So, you know, there's a lot, and you really do have to be on top of things and know what you're dealing with and talking about and what people are talking to you about. I could be in some very wild situations right now if I weren't paying more attention to, you know, the documents that were in front of me. So those things are very, very important.
I love that. I love that. You know, we have this project, my business partner and I, where we're talking to artists about similar things like that, but in reference to expanding their portfolios internationally. So taking, you know, their music internationally and recording with international artists and getting placements and, you know, sponsorships and residencies and things like that. But what you said really resonates because the one thing that I make sure I focus on is talking to artists about their business, about the business side of things, right? Because they don't realize that they need to understand that as well.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, a lot of people will rob them. A lot of labels will not give them a good deal, especially if they don't know how to read a contract and things like that. So, you know, I like the fact that you mentioned that.
Or a
and
lawyer
that
will give them a lawyer that's also working with
that's also working with the label, right? So I like that you mentioned that, and also that you mentioned that going to college is a great idea, even if you're pursuing something that is more on the creative side and not the educational side. But there's certain things, skills and tools and knowledge that you need to learn to be able to manage yourself.
Even as simple as discipline,
Yeah.
you know, being able to make yourself get up and go to class early in the morning,
Yes.
making it yourself,
Yes.
be able to get up and send emails out to DJs or,
Yes.
you know, whatever you have
Yes.
to do and putting yourself on schedules, all of that is important. So.
Yeah, discipline, network, all of that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that is a very good piece of advice.
And know your insights. That's really
Yeah.
important too. Know your audience and how to really dial in on the audience so that
Mm-hmm.
everything is maximized and you're not really losing because you already know ahead of time. You know, we have
Yeah.
tools now to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, you already know that you're marketing to an audience that wants to hear what you have to say. So really pay attention to that too.
Yeah, yeah, and then analytics and stuff like that. Like, real quick, just answer this real quick. How do you feel about investing in like ads and stuff like that? Because we are in like that time right now in technology and social media and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I think everything is, oh my gosh, capitalism is like taking over at this point with tech and social media now. It's even worse. You're always being shown something, and you're being forced to buy something at every single moment. But you know, I think it's important that in order to compete in that market, if you're selling any commodity, I think you should be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think there's a way to do it though, and not be obnoxious, and you know,
Right.
still make sure that the people who are seeing you because they want to, and not because it's become a force. But I do believe in marketing very aggressively.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And
good,
waiting
good.
until you have the means to be able to market aggressively.
Right.
I could have put this project out a long time ago, but I wanted to make sure that resources were such that when I did put it out, I could
Yes.
market it the way I wanted to, and that's been really important.
Exactly. Exactly. That's such a good tool. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we don't have much time left, but it was so great sitting
Thank
with
you for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate
I'm
you
so
all.
excited. So I just want you to leave us and leave our listeners with this. What message do you hope your listeners will take away from your journey and from the music you're putting out into the world?
The power was in you before you knew it, and that's it.
Yes, the power was in you before you knew it. Oh, okay. That's all we need. That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Reina.
No, thank you again for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you so
all.
much for sitting here with us today. I cannot wait to dive in. I'm gonna use your songs on my post.
Thank you.
'cause
You
I
gotta
know
let me
I'm
know your
gonna love
thoughts.
them.
Let me know your thoughts.
Listen, we're gonna spark up and we're gonna listen to some stuff. But I'm
shining,
excited.
girl.
Yes,
Thank you. I
keep
appreciate
shining.
it.
Congratulations.
Likewise.
And also, I want to give a shout out to Lynn Hobson, to Money Lynn, for connecting us with these beautiful women today. So thank you, Queen. I appreciate you. And just let everybody know where they can follow you, and we'll wrap up.
Sure. You can find me at Raina, RAINA, Simone, SIMONE, on all platforms, TikTok and Instagram primarily. Raina Simone, RAINA, SIMONE, on all streaming platforms. Yeah, Raina Simone everywhere.
Woo! And I'm your girl, Sue Fearless.
And I'm Gigi.
And
Stay in
just follow,
school.
yeah, follow Sue Fearlessly on all platforms.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.